mentally feel like Kobe, I'm like Jokic with the rock. You physically couldn't hold me, I don't care if you pushing 40. You can never little bro me. You're on step like Ginobili, from young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats, circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's a reach. We ready, who ready?
All right, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the One-on-One Sports Show. I'm Mr. Bennett, joined by my partners this evening. After a long time, good to have my brother Dante back in place. Man, had to take care of some business, so he's all settled in. My man Trey Ferg, good to be with you. And Shawnee, he's going to be joining us shortly on the show, and we're going to have a special guest tonight when we talk about boxing. Brother Mandrell is going to be joining us later on to talk about recent events in the sport of boxing. But good to be with you guys tonight. Just take the pulse of the room. My man Dante, I know you've been moving and shaking out there, literally. So how you doing, man? Good to have you back.
Man, good to be back, man. Good to be back. Just feeling good. Everything's kind of moving well. I've been between what I've been doing, like personal stuff, like seeing my brother get ready to graduate high school, which is a wonderful thing. Have a college signing day. And then, with my job been crazy, been picking up a lot of OT. So, right. It's just been busy on all fronts. So I've had chances to catch in and check in on the sports, but this is it's another time. I know we said a lot. This is another really good time because the conference finals, and man, that's serious big boy stuff. So I'm excited to be here with you guys and talk about it. How you been, Trey?
I've been doing pretty good, man. Not too bad. Thought I needed to get some new glasses, but they just told me I need to start just using my eye drops more, and just cut my grass today right before the rain, which was good. You might hear my dogs, and I might lose some power because it's a bad storm going through. But I'm glad, man, you're back, man. I'm glad you got all moved in, man.
Oh yeah,
everything taken care of and stuff. And the fact that you talking about you got a brother graduating high school, man, let me know my ass is old.
We're old.
You got a young brother graduating high school, man. Still a baby.
Yeah, man. Because he's 18. I'm 37, so he makes me feel like I'm talking about.
Oh man, so you got I was determined when I had my kids. I said I'm gonna have my kids like no more than 5 years apart, man. My wife and I, we knocked out 3 kids, boom, 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 and I was done. So
I did not go back. I'm the opposite. 16, 4, and 2. So only 2 were together. So we're gonna graduate in 2 years. It's gonna be yes, graduation. And my son will be pre-K. My daughter's just now getting ready to start pre-K. So it's yeah. But it keeps you young. When people say it keeps you young, it's a lot. That's a lot. I'm in different places, so it's cool.
That's it.
To my daughter, I'm not old, but I'm old. Yeah. But then to the kids, it's they don't know yet. It's just right. Daddy, and so it's cool. But man, it's wonderful. They're loving the place because they all the bedrooms are upstairs. So they as soon as we hit there, they did a lap around the house, and then they went up the stairs, and it was just tire out, cool, just do it.
That's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing. Congratulations on the new house, and just pray you guys make it into a home. And so none but love there, man. Salute you. But again, we got a big sports show tonight. Obviously, we were in the midst of the NBA playoffs. So again, we just got out of the second round of playoffs. Now we're going into the conference finals. I know, obviously Boston, with their game last night, we'll bring them up. But let's go back and revisit and rehash. There was a lot of stuff over the weekend. And I know I was active with you guys in the chats in terms of what's going on. I mean, let's start with the big one, the topsy-turvy series with Denver and Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota came out the box, knocked them out 2 games at home, and both myself and Trey Ferg, I think we were signing them off. It was going to be a gentleman's sweep. We were just determined, I think, as everyone else, thinking that we weren't going to see a Nuggets dynasty, and they come roaring right back, win 3 straight games, and but give credit to the Minnesota, especially given the fact this is a young team. And they were able to bounce back and, win the crucial game at home, and then they went back to Denver and they took care of business, shut those guys down the second half. I'm very impressed for a team that's that young with that kind of young leadership. So we might be looking at next. With these guys, with Ant-Man, these guys coming up. So, what was your thoughts on the series from what you were able to catch, Dante?
Man, my biggest thing is I loved that going into the season, you could tell the keys were handed to Anthony Edwards and be like, hey, you lead the way. Because I'll tell you one thing about him. From young guys to old heads, he is loved. His style of basketball is loved. And there's not a player that I can say that when I talk to older gentlemen, and they're like, oh, man, that guy there, that cat there. And it's just like, oh, okay, so y'all understand him. Y'all get it. And he gets it. They're promoting him as the number one pick. He's in the ads. And now it's like he's in the ads at the right time where he's having success. The biggest knock we have on people is, hey, when are you going to have the success that matches, the branding? Right. And I will say is him taking the lead, but it meant the most that in Game 7, he had ugly shooting, but he comes up and plays both sides of the ball, getting steals, making pressuring Jamal Murray, and the fact that, hey, man, we give Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns a lot of crap. They stepped up when it was really needed.
Absolutely. And and like I said, it was very reminiscent. You know what I thought of? I thought of, if you guys remember, Lakers Celtics back in, I think it was like 2010, that Game 7. The Lakers. Kobe didn't have necessarily a great scoring game, but he did pretty much everything else.
He had like kind of 15 boards and steals. You got to do everything. The jumper's not there. It's a team. It needs to be a team effort, and you can't just soak because your shot's not falling.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely. Trey Ferg, what were your thoughts on the series, man? Again, this is what was not expecting it, but certainly we were back. A lot of those series up front, they weren't looking very competitive. But they were able to turn it around. So what was your overall impression of Minnesota and how they were able to go back into Denver and get those wins, man? I mean that's
I'm glad that they beat Denver because it looked like they were just trying to hand everything over to Denver. I'm just glad that the team was able to have a all around good effort. Everybody played solid basketball. They played defense when they needed to. And, you can't really stop Joker. He's just one of those generational type players just because of his awkward ability. And he is a true 7-footer with probably a 10-foot wingspan because he's, just the way he can shoot. I wouldn't hand Anthony Edwards the keys yet. He still has a lot to prove, but he is ascending to a level because now you're looking to place him over Jason Tatum and all of the other young stars. But I think if they win the championship, you can say that the NBA is in good hands going into the future.
Absolutely.
LeBron is getting old. I give LeBron next year. If his sons make it, I give him next year. Then I think he's going to call it quits. But it's a great group of young stars that's starting to elevate the game.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I heard Jalen Rose spoke about NBA players needing to start getting their act together because the foreign influx of players are coming.
Right.
And I can see that, but I think the NBA will make probably his greatest mistake if they start trying to push more foreign players over African-American players. They'll lose.
Like that big black man.
Yeah.
So
Timberwolves. Look. I'm a lifelong Celtic fan, and we'll get into the Celtics a little bit later on. I was not impressed last night, and I got my concerns about them going forward. But yeah, I mean, certainly these guys, they definitely put it on. And like I said, the defense, they kind of clamped down in the second half. And Ant-Man already came out. Edwards already came out, says, I want Kyrie in the next round. So he's already laid down the gauntlet that he wants to guard him. So hey, that's going to be a very interesting matchup coming next. We can move to that. We can move to that spot next. But even before we go there, what I'm really also excited about is just overall in the last couple of years, We've had, again, Denver winning. If Minnesota, again, the Midwest, because I think it's good when you have these Midwestern teams. It used to be for the longest time the teams in the big cities were winning the championships. And a lot of this talent didn't want to go to those Midwest towns and whatnot, for fear of, marketing and whatnot, not a chance to win. But I think now with, today's game, you could be anywhere in the country and you can still make a name for yourself. So definitely, if Minnesota is able to pull this off, I think it'll do a lot for, certainly for the Midwest in terms of basketball overall. But
a minute. Didn't Milwaukee just win it in 2020?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Milwaukee. So I'm saying Milwaukee won. Now you got Denver. Now Minnesota is a potential top flight team that could certainly be in the mix. So again, I think the Midwest, it used to be like an undesirable place to play. But now I think that we can get these players to stay in these markets, and that kind of levels the playing field. Not always having, and again, look, I love the Celtics and Lakers back in the 80s. I grew up in that, but certainly, the ability to spread the wealth around and be able to say you can win in any market. I think that is, certainly something I think is good for the life of the NBA going forward, especially because now they're about to sign this new deal with all these companies. Now it's like a $76 billion deal. Like over 10 years. Yeah. So, I mean, so they're about to, some serious money is about to be, making it even better for everyone. Everyone's going to have a chance to eat. But again, shout out to Mandrell for joining the show. This is our Teddy Atlas of the BMU network who's joining us tonight. So I'm definitely going to be looking forward to the boxing segment. But before I move on, because we're just shooting around on the NBA, did you get a chance to watch any of the games? Did you have any thoughts on any of the games, the Denver series before we move on to the next series?
Yeah, I don't watch girl sports.
Coming in, dropping bombs already, guys. Coming in, dropping bombs
already. Consistent. If you can't say nothing else, he consistent.
There you go. All right, well, we're going to move on to the other girls' action that was going on. So we also had Dallas and OKC. Again, it seemed like a similar story was being written with, again, another young team out of OKC competing against the Mavericks. And I said that, certainly – if OKC was going to win, they got to get rid of Dallas early. Don't let Kyrie get going. And in fact, I just saw a stat today that in the 12 quarters of playoffs that he's played so far in the playoffs, he scored 19 points in the first quarter in the whole 12. But he's a finisher. In closeout games, he's 14-0. So even in this game 7, they were asking, well, he didn't have the greatest first half, but you saw Kyrie show up in the second half. And I always said, as long as you can get Kyrie in the game, the hardest part for Kyrie is getting him in the game, getting him on the court, not him getting himself suspended or, just a lot of drama that had nothing to do with basketball. But when you get him in the arena to play and he's focused, then that's a guy you just don't want to see in the fourth quarter. And he showed up once again and was able to close them out. And especially despite OKC, the young team, very talented. They were up by double digits multiple times at the game, up 16, I think, at multiple points in the game, and they just couldn't hold it. Their inexperience showed. Gilchrist Alexander, he was the only scorer for those guys, and they just couldn't pull it off. So, credit to Kyrie and Doncic for leading Dallas. And again, the deeper this goes into the playoffs, I think they get more dangerous because, again, Kyrie, when he's right, he's very difficult to deal with. So, Dante, what was your thoughts on that series, how it closed out?
This one is one that when I made my like I was on NBA.com and I was making the predictions, and I was just like, I had the Mavericks in the conference finals, but just because those trades that they made, able to have the more ability. And the biggest thing I've seen is from observing the Mavericks, what's going on, Shani? Having Maxi Kleber on the floor is okay, but having Josh Powell on the floor, it's like, And then, then not having anybody that can, come out with athleticism and be able to guard guys on the perimeter consistently and also help with the scoring. The thing is, when you had Kyrie and Luka originally, not enough defense, that they score. Now you got a lot of 3-and-D guys surrounding them, and now you got rim protection. So you got two guys that can come in and, defend the rim, help with rebounding, And that's like a big key for them because it's like if you can defend enough and if they do enough on defense on their end, they got the
Right.
buckets to get there. Kyrie's
Yeah.
clutch, he's going to kill it. And then Luka, when those times when he gets tired in the fourth quarter, I think he plays like the first quarter and he'll drop like 15. And it's like, that's great, to set the pace. But, you got to have enough gas to bring it home. So I was really impressed with them because Oklahoma City, I thought the way it took a turn, I thought they were going to be able to take it extended. I thought it was going 7. But, they just, the Mavericks were just too much. And it's one of those deals where it's the little things where, hey, they're a more veteran team. This is a team that went a few years ago to the conference finals. So
Right.
Luka has this playoff experience. Kyrie is a champion. And you got other veteran guys on this team where it's just like, it's our time. This is their first bite at the apple, a lot of them. And so OKC will be back, but it's one of those deals where, youth is great, but, experience usually wins in the playoffs. So I say hats off to the Mavs and what they've done. Props to Nico Harrison. I know it was questioned when he got the job. I know people questioned the Kyrie move. And then at the trade deadline, you look up and it's like, oh, they got a real contender. And it wasn't naturally, it may not have been covered as much. But it's just like when you look at it now, you gotta cover them because it's like they're at the end of the road. They're in the Final Four. So
Right. I'd like to welcome to the show our brother Shawnee. Shawnee over there, again, taking care of his business. Salute. First of all, just not the show. Salute to you guys. I see how you guys move every week. You're definitely about your families and your grind, man. I just want to give you roses for the men that you guys are, outside of this venue. You guys handling your business the way you should. I just respect you guys for doing what you're doing. So Shawnee, good to have you up on board. Any thoughts on the Dallas series or any quick thoughts on? I know we already talked about the Denver series, but any thoughts on that or thoughts on the Dallas overcoming OKC?
Well, Dallas and OKC, that was a good series. I just think with OKC, they needed somebody more consistent to show up with Alexander.
Absolutely.
Dallas, their duo, even though Luka he kind of had his slow spots, but they also, but Dallas, Washington was huge for them. So they had a third man that really shined in that series. OKC, they were searching. Williams, he was kind of in and out. It was really just Shai Gilgeous-Alexander pretty much at the closing. But and then with Minnesota versus Denver, that was just a good series. Minnesota defense just at first, Joker was starting to have his way with the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year in Gobert, but then they was able to find something in that Game 7. And it just, even though Denver had a 20-point lead in that game, and all of a sudden it just turned around.
Yeah, shut them down. They scored 14 points in the third quarter. I mean, just totally shut them down.
Shut them down. So that's the thing. I think this series with Dallas and Minnesota, like they always say, styles make fights, is basically all-pro duo versus a team with a star. They have a duo that's not as potent as Luka and Kyrie.
Right.
But I do give the edge to Minnesota because my whole thing is, as much as I believe Dallas will be able to hang with them, I got to stick by my formula about defense. Defense travels. And even though Dallas defense has been playing better in the postseason, Minnesota's defense has just been consistent all year. They was number one. They just brought that up into the postseason. Even though Dallas defense improved, they still not at Minnesota level.
Right.
So with Dallas, if Luka and Kyrie, I mean, I guess if you expect Washington to step up again, but Minnesota has the length they're able to keep up with Washington. So it'll be, because Ant-Man already said he got Kyrie.
Yeah. That's going to be must see TV right there.
I mean, Kyrie would get his, but Ant-Man would get his, and Luka, they got to find somebody to hide Luka defensively.
Right.
And that's going to be a challenge for Dallas. So I think I just give the edge because I think Dallas has the better offense, but defense is, defense just Give me a team that can really play defense because, I mean, Minnesota already showed it because they played a team that's even better offensively than Dallas, and that's Denver. And they're showing how they could do when they can kind of turn up the defensive, presence on the court. And the thing about Dallas, if you make Luka or Kyrie struggle, and Steph definitely because the Wolves have the potential to make both of them work. Then you asking Washington or any other role players to really step up. Washington able to get his as much as he does this playoffs because Kyrie and Luka, they so focused on Kyrie and Luka. But with Minnesota, they can kind of put a more defensive pressure than OKC did on those two. Now let's see Washington. You may have a game. You may have to be number one scoring option,
Right.
just because how the Wolves defense is gonna attack the Mavs. So I think it's gonna be a good series. I got Wolves in 7 just because defensively. Like I say, Dallas defense has improved as well.
Yeah.
So, if they could do their adjustments, that's the thing about the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's why I can't stand when people overreact to game one because it's all about adjustments. Okay, you lose game one. Them coaches go right back pretty much immediately after the game and start figuring out some type of formula, and they gonna start taking away what you do well. And that's when that's what happened with OKC. Once the teams really start focusing, it was kind of hard for them. Okay, where we gonna go? Where we gonna go? Dallas had more experience. Who knows? Maybe this experience will go up against Minnesota. So
Hold on.
it's a good.
I want to get to
series.
that comment when you're done.
Huh?
So I want to. So Trey, I don't know. I know like we get forgetful of things, but actually one thing that the Mavericks did have with defense on that team because they had older guys that their offensive game wasn't the same. Their game wasn't the same in general. Sean Marion, Tyson Chandler, Sean Stevenson, those guys were defending. Especially if you watch the final series when they played against the Heat. So it wasn't one of those deals where defense doesn't travel. It's one of those things you got to have enough defense and rebounding. If you look at it when it comes to defense, 80% of the playoff games this year have been decided by the team that's won on the rebound on the board.
OKC,
which is a part of defense. You cannot close the defensive possession until you get the rebound. Old school principle. So I was like, I don't know about the defense doesn't travel. It's not gonna get you there if you don't have any offense, but it's definitely something that that is very important. I want to get to another comment you made about the international players. I'm glad you said that about them until they start winning the Olympics. The one thing they will say is they always want to say about the amount of guys that are all NBA and doing this and how many MVPs they won as a way to put it out there. But the one thing I always attest to when we go and line up and want to do a USA versus the world, we get it on this show. We couldn't get enough guys that were all-stars, that were international players. And then the other thing is, how many times are you going to win MVP versus an American-born player? And we've seen it recently. Giannis has won it, and Jokic has won it. But overall, they're there, and they're at the top of the list, but the rest of the All-NBA is American-born guys. So I'm glad you see there's a little bit of the propaganda that's going on. It's just like, nah, this is still our thing, and I think that's why the guys came for Team USA. They want to come out and put out a message.
Right. Trey Ferg, your thoughts on the Dallas OKC series? Were you able to see?
I mean, I think Dallas came to play some good ball, man. They played good team ball, when everyone first saw the trade and saw that they had 2 premier guards, they were questioning if they would have success. But, these are professionals. I think Kyrie was able to lock in. I think he understood he doesn't have as many options. He's not as young as he used to be. And, he get an opportunity to play with a good guard. So it's meshing, it's working. I think the problem with Dallas is they're going to be too small with Minnesota, but who knows, if they can make shots, then this point in the NBA season, you never know. Nobody thought that Minnesota would beat Denver, but here we are. So
Yeah.
they can play him. Kyrie, he's a top 2-point guard.
Yeah, exactly. He's the fourth quarter, in terms of players, that's the one guy in the NBA right now I don't want to see in the fourth quarter. If he can get there, like I said, his mind may keep him out the game, but if I can get him into the fourth quarter, that in terms of a closer, That's why I won trying to close out the games. Cleveland's only championship. You can talk about LeBron, but it was Kyrie who won that championship for them, and that hit that big shot in that game winner against Golden State. But also, just speaking of Dallas, one guy definitely want to give shout out to, again, that rookie Livesey. He came up big too, big on the boards, hit clutch free throws. Again, as a rookie, the moment didn't scare him either. So I think that he got a big boost. They got a big boost from him in the game, and I think that may certainly help them certainly going forward in the next round. But he came up big in that closeout game as well. So, but want to move on to the Knicks now. This is, again, I'm in the Northeast, so again, folks are kind of upset around here, But it was almost like one of those games. It's like, what are you going to do? Yeah, you figure we lost Brunson in the second half. I think he broke his hand. So you didn't have him, but Indiana, they came out blared. They shot 67% for the game, 54% from three for the game. So when you're that hot, it's almost impossible to stop a team like that. And so Knicks always cursed. Yeah, man, it's like, everybody thought this was going to be the year to break out. I would have loved to see the Celtics Knicks series. Would have had a lot of fun with the guys in the area. But just wasn't meant to be for the Knicks. But unfortunately, look, they were up 3-2, couldn't close it out. In fact, I think one of the players, might have been Halliburton for the Pacers. He had the hoodie on with Reggie Miller with the choke sign that he used to get. I don't know if you guys remember the Knicks Pacers series from the 90s. So he wore a shirt with the choke sign for the Knicks. Knicks were up 3-2 in the series, so he brought that back. So I'm sure people in the area weren't appreciating that. But any thoughts on this? I think for the Knicks, I think their future looks good. I mean, they had a ton of injuries. Anunoby wasn't there. Obviously we all know about Randall. So certainly they have a good nucleus of scorers on the team. I think that they're certainly going to be relevant for the next a few years. Brunson is is definitely, if not a superstar status, he's definitely all-star caliber player. And, I think certainly, I'd be very optimistic about the Knicks going forward. But I think they just had too much to overcome with the injuries and whatnot. And again, Indiana is dangerous. I already sensed that from last night's game. Yeah. Those guys are coming. So guys, Dante, what were your thoughts? Any thoughts from the Knicks series?
That series was fun. And I remember they made the 30 for 30 on the whole Pacers and Knicks. And I'll say this, for any Knicks fan that was mad about what he wore, let's not forget in game 2 when it was all good, 2-0, looked like they was just gonna roll him. Right. Josh Hart, and they caught him. They was like, hey, they seen F you. They didn't blur it out. When they on the replay, they probably blurred it. But on the replay, they said, hey, I'm just letting you know what they saying. So you feeling the crowd, it's all good then. When it's never fun when the Rabbit got the gun. So when they wearing the shirt at the press conference, same with Minnesota, waving by and Jokic took the first. It was like, nah, you taunted when you won. They love you when you win. You kind of make the rules, and it's just kind of that's how it goes. That was a good series. I hate that the Knicks went down like that, but the team shoots 67%. You got to get some hands up. You got to do something to affect them from making those shots. And also, you can't do anything about getting health. The only thing I would make the point about the health is this. We hate to say it, but got to say it. Tom Thibodeau runs those guys and those heavy minutes
into the ground.
You got a small guard like Jalen Brunson, and you just running them out there so much, putting so much on him. Like you said, hey, they got to do some more. And, they got to give them some more. They got to figure out the Julius Randle situation. But that's a team that you never thought you'd say it. Hey, they're in position to do something. They didn't blow out the picks on the Donovan Mitchell trade yet. I know he's available. He might be available again. I don't think he can work for Brunson, but they have to find another way to get something. Getting OG Anunoby, that's a really good piece, but you got to be healthy. You got 2 quality, decent centers. They really got a lot going for them. They need a little bit more, and I honestly think they would have probably. They're going to hard hustle you, but I think the Celtics would have beat them. I think it would have been like a 4-1 series. I think the Pacers are a team that, and they said this today. It was reported. Tim Legler, ESPN, was like, "Hey, it's not sexy enough to talk about the Pacers," which is crazy. When that move they got they snuffed the move. It was like, oh well, they'll make the playoffs with when they got past Siakam, but it's just like, no, they make the conference finals with them. And it's just like, that's why I like it about, hey, if you don't feel like you're getting enough attention in the playoffs, keep winning. They'll have nothing left but to talk to you. But it's like, I see another comment is like, hey, Trey Taylor, I know what you said about they was 14th in defense. Let's take I'm an analytics guy. I love stats. Let's take what we saw. LeBron James, whatever his career scoring average is, look what he averaged in the finals against the Mavericks. It wasn't just like, there has to be some degree of giving the credit to the defense. Dirk was amazing in the run that he had, and they were definitely more about the offense than the defense. But you got to give that the credit. I'm not looking at the statistics. I'm looking at what I saw. And I saw that series, and I was like, oh, they're doing a pretty good job. So that's,
For real. Shawnee, what you got, man?
I'm looking at the comments. I think Trey may be looking too much, I guess, in the names between the two teams, between Boston and Indiana. He said Indiana don't have enough firepower. That's one thing. Indiana
They're the top two scoring teams in the NBA.
That team is not lacking any type of offense. They finished the regular season number 1, and they number 1 in the postseason. Their problem is they can't stop a damn thing. They was ranked number 27 out of 30. They can't stop anybody. But that offense, they will score. That's why Boston, even when they had that, I think in the fourth quarter when they stretched it to like a 12-point lead, Indiana just came back like that.
Yeah,
they gonna score. That's one thing they're gonna do. They're gonna score. They just can't stop. They just can't stop anybody. But Indiana had that game last night. But I guess the players, they must have. Yeah, you can tell they palms just got too sweaty or something because they just couldn't do it. They just couldn't function. Halliburton mishandled the ball. I remember he was just dribbling the ball up the side, down the sideline late in the quarter, bounced off his leg. I forgot one teammate tried to dive and save it, but he stepped out of bounds.
Right.
You had who was that? Who is the one? I forgot his name. Who just basically kind of looked like he was about to shoot, but he tried to pass it backwards and he got stolen. I forgot which patient was that. Of course, you got the.
Oh yeah.
And then Halliburton again. I mean, Holiday was on him, but he lost control of the ball. That's
stepped out.
Crashed the kid the scores table.
Right.
They just fell apart. So
it was definitely more them losing it than winning it. But say that because again, I'm worried here. So we're gonna have our segment on Boston, Indiana from game 1. But Trey, why don't you close this out of the segment? Then we can move on to, unfortunately, the what I'm seeing in this in this series here. So Trey, any thoughts on the Knicks series to close this out?
I mean, listen, you lose basically almost 5 starters. You can't win. That's just what it is. They got hit with the injury bug. But again, Thibodeau's style of coaching is probably some of the worst in the league. He wouldn't have never went to his bench if they wouldn't have been talking about it post game of the first couple of games. And if they didn't have the injuries, he would have stuck with his 7-player rotation. And late in the games, it happens to the best of us. We get tired as hell. We don't have no more gas to push. So, but unfortunately, they got hit with the injury bug at the wrong time.
Well, I mean, that's what happens when you drink alcohol and chase women, and you ain't focused on your job, man. You outside turning up.
And I'll say this: the worst thing they could do is let Randall go. They let Randall go.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Too many injuries over the last couple of years. But that's the thing. You trade him. Who's picking him up, or what are you going to get value from? So I mean, I may just I don't know if they could release him. I don't know what the number.
The number. Let him go. They will be.
But again, he's injured. Who's gonna take him though? I mean, the last couple of years he's been dealing with so much. So I don't know if he's gonna be a good asset. Which you're gonna get good value for.
Right there in New York is where he needs to be. Let him go.
So you're sending him to Brooklyn?
No, he's gonna stay right there in New York. He gonna be.
Oh, you're gonna stay there? Oh, okay.
Okay. Let him go.
I don't know which value. He's got to be able to get on the court though. That's my only concern. Got to get on the court though and stay on the court.
Shoulders together. Them shoulders got to be stronger.
You gonna bench Anunoby?
He's gonna be the 3.
Offense than
He was injured in the series also. I think he missed like 4 games. So I mean,
he was hurt.
Possibly would have won that series
if Anunoby got hurt.
Healthy Brunson
He
Yeah.
can check
and
1 through
Hulk
5.
Anunoby.
Ananobi, that's his special. He can play good
Right.
D. Randall play the 3, Ananobi play the 4. Whoever can play the
I
7.
don't know if Randall quick enough to play the 3. I know
He
he
can
can
play.
definitely hang.
He's a small forward. That's his position, a small forward. He's a small forward. You know, with New York,
Well, we'll see.
he's not
Yeah.
going to play nobody down low, especially with that shoulder. He's going to be.
Well, if you were going to make a case for somebody's minutes, you got to manage. I know guys, folks don't like load management in the NBA, but he's a poster child for that. So you know, keep him until you need him.
Some players
Because
are just brittle, and he one of them.
yeah. So, but moving on to the last.
Brittle. I told you. See, and this is basketball. Y'all talking about brittle. You see why I don't watch women's sports? You guys are talking about a non-contact sport. You're talking about
We got one more. We got one more, and then we'll get into the context. That's good here. So again, we had last night. We had the opening. We had the opening of the Celtics and Pacers series at the Garden. And I gotta tell you, I'm worried now. Again, Jason Tatum. Again, the knock on him is he can put up big numbers in the playoffs. He comes up short in the biggest moments. He almost came up short again last night. I mean, yes, he had 36 for the game, but if it wasn't for Brown's double clutched 3-pointer on the side, we might not have a game here. He had a lot of turnovers towards the end of the game. Couldn't hit the side of the ocean with the shots in that quarter. Now, again, in overtime, he showed up. He made some baskets down the stretch. But again, he seems to disappear. He plays small in those moments. They still don't have Porzingis back. They talk about he may not be available till Game 3. And you see here with Indiana, they seem faster than the Celtics. The length, we seem like an older team out there. We got our old man playing center, Horford. So again, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up these guys in the track meet, but it seems like they had every opportunity to steal Game 1, and I'm not ruling them out to steal Game 2. I'm very worried about the Celtics, whether or not they're going to win this, if they're able to win this series, because I just don't like the, and again, Brown, you get making $300 million or whatever. I mean, you hit the big shot to help to get in, but you're going to hit that shot 1 out of 5 times. And so, again, we were lucky to escape with Game 1, but this team is young. They're coming. They can score, as Shawnee talked about. So I'm worried about whether or not Celtics pull this off. I'm not going to make a prediction at this point, since, again, we already started, and I can't make a prediction at this point. But what do you got, Dante? What are you seeing in this series? But this team scares me right now.
It's not my team, so it's just like I going in and I felt like the Celtics got this one, and so I'm sticking. I'm sticking with that. I know it's shaky, and I picked it in 6 just because I had a respect for. I picked them in 6. I picked Minnesota in 7. Just added us respect for, how good Indiana can be and how much they can score. And I think that's gonna give you problems in game after game after game. And eventually they're gonna win. I feel they'll win 2. They'll lose 4. The Celtics are a better team. That one they got lucky. I fully would expect for game 2, if they were to win, I wouldn't be surprised. And going home Indiana with a 1-1, that'll make the best series, and then eventually the best team will win. And so that's how I kind of see it goes. They got some things they can improve on, but as of right now, Rick Carlisle, he's a pretty good coach. And that's the one thing, and he'll make to be able to do some things. Because I'm not gonna lie, when he left Dallas, I thought he was cooked. I thought when he left Dallas, I was like, yeah, you can't get along with young stars. And it was just like, no, for whatever reason, you didn't mess with Luka. And some of it was some stuff the way it handled with the guy they had before, Dennis Smith Jr. He didn't like how that played out, and Luka soured on him. And so he was like, he knew it was time to go. So, props to him for, finding a spot and turning it around in the Midwest, back to the Midwest. But I figure it'll be a good theater, good fun for the Pacers. But I don't think as much as I don't like the Celtics, they're going to win this series.
Yes, addressing Trey. Yes, I am being ridiculous right now. You see, I'm not rocking a Celtics jersey now. I'm wearing my Rutgers here. So again, I'm putting all my Celtic gear away. I'm staying low. I'm not saying anything at this point. So yes, I'm one of those radical Celtic fans. So yeah, I'm not rational right now. Absolutely not. I'm worried about this. If we get out of this one, and then I got more than likely I got Minnesota after that. And I don't think they're going to beat. I'll say it right now. I don't think the Celtics will beat Minnesota in the finals. So I'm just trying to get there But I'm seeing same size that happened over the past 3-4 years. Celtics have been in like a last 4 or 5 conference finals. And every time Jason Tatum, and again, certain moments, again, you look at the stat line, it's impressive, but he doesn't show up and Brown also tends to fade a little bit in these moments. So yeah, I'm not rational right now. So that's just a fan of me. I'm not being an objective analyst at this point. That's just a fan of me right now who's worried about his team. So, Shawnee, you want to take the next commentary?
Well, it's basically just like I was mentioning before. One thing I know what's going to happen with Indy, they're going to score. They've shown it all year, and nobody really has been able to stop them, and that includes Boston. So it's just a matter if the Pacers can have some defense. I can't remember a team that was just so extreme on the opposite side of the spectrum. But that's Indy this year. But they're in Indiana. Nobody talks about them. Hell, even before. After Boston won, one day, basically on the week before this Eastern Conference Finals, everybody was just talking about Boston. And then when the Western Conference Finals was settled, you just heard about Boston, Dallas, and Minnesota. You just kept hearing about them 3 teams, but nobody was talking about Indiana. And I was like, I always was aware of their offense. And they shown, even versus Boston, they can just cut a lead, make that disappear quickly. So, especially Siakam in that middle, he was just doing it for that free throw line.
Yeah, he's a problem. Yeah.
But because of the defensive fact, I have Boston, and I have this series potentially going in 7. Because one thing Boston don't want to do, they don't want to make a track meet with Indy.
Yeah, again, they're too young, too fast. Like I said, we got some old guys. Harper, seeing Harper going up and down the court, man, it's painful.
But they have.
And Porzingis, I don't know how healthy he's going to be when he comes back.
Even when he come back, even if he was healthy, he ain't gonna be getting up.
You can't keep up with them. Yeah,
that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna turn it into a track meet.
Yeah,
and that because you see them as soon as a team score, they immediately threw the ball in. And McConnell. That dude having the best season of his career this year. That dude, he just come in, he just instant offense. But I just can't, like I was mentioning in the Western Conference Final, I was giving the edge to the Wolves because their defense. It's not no secret about it. In the East Conference Finals, the Celtics have the edge on defense. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good series. I think the Pacers are highly overlooked. Because they don't have a big name, but if you was watching that team during the season, that offense has been consistent. I just say they put up points. So if you have a bad shooting night, you would get blown out. It's just simple as that.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess I got Boston in a close series. It almost kind of reminds me of that Nuggets Lakers series last, even though Lakers was swept, but every game was close. So it was just like Denver was just able to pull out because they were the better team, and I think that I could see that happening in this series. Boston is the better team, so you just think they'll make the the more clutch plays at the end of the game. So
that's right.
I'm with y'all.
Trey Ferg, what you got? How you looking at it?
Boston, listen, it always look good when shots are going in. They have a great offensive team. I think their defense is really going to be tested this year. And, Porzingis, his history always catches up with him. He's always injured at the wrong time, it seems like. But who knows? He's a big body. He can be another threat, especially to stretch the floor. If Boston does play Minnesota, he's going to have to be in the lineup. He's going to have to be in the lineup just to stretch the floor because you don't want Gobert down there defending the rim. So if he can be healthy and play, I think Boston has a shot. It's just going to be interesting. This is a whole new league. No more LeBron, no Joker, no LA Clippers. So I'm interested to see. They would say this is Boston's time, but I think Minnesota has the confidence now since they were able to beat Denver. I think Minnesota can really they're the most dangerous team to me right now, just because they have those two big bodies. And if they start playing them a little more, and they have the sixth man of the year,
Three
and then you
They got
got
three.
Yeah.
They got three.
see, and the sixth man of the year, he's playing hell of ball right now. He actually won the series to me. So who knows?
Yeah.
Minnesota wins, then like I said earlier, the future of the NBA is in good hands going forward. So
And you want to know what's the real secret about this? He was with the front office of Denver. He left before they won. He went to Minnesota, and it looks like he crafted a team that was able to beat them, because the three bigs are being able to rotate them. Because the only problem with Gobert is he's good in the regular season, but if you get him in the screening role, you can cook him, you can play him off the floor. If you do that, you still have Towns, and you can put Naz Reid out there who can move in 6 man of the year, and the guy can go out there and really give you something. And so that's really impressive the way they've been able to build that team. And last 7 years, different champ every year. So now it's gonna be 8. So it's good for the parity. And everyone says they're tired of seeing LeBron and they're tired of seeing Steph. Well, you got the playoffs right here. You got Jason Tatum, who's still a stalwart, still a person that's been there. Him and Jaylen Brown. And now you got Tyrese Halliburton coming along. You got Anthony Edwards. You got Karl-Anthony Towns, who you got Luka, you got Kyrie. So it's like, look, you got enough. People just gotta watch. If the casuals don't, everybody complains about the same guys, and then when they leave, you can't so do the casuals. So it's like we gotta get on the casuals. The hoop heads are gonna watch. So
Yeah.
Real quick on this Dallas Minnesota game, one thing I am noticing, Kyrie, I think he already has like 6 shot attempts, but he's doing a lot of creating. It's like right now Dallas, there's really not no flow to the offense. They're just creating, and you see a little bit more. Well, Everett just threw the ball in the stands, but it's just, I guess Minnesota's defense is just, Kyrie got the handles. He can go around anybody, but it's definitely right now no flow to that offense. So I know we was talking about the whole defensive angle with the Wolves earlier. It's just interesting how this game is playing out so far.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, just overall, I'm just looking forward to, again, a great conference finals. Again, Boston up 1-0. Dallas and Minnesota, they're underway in the first quarter, 21-18. Timberwolves are up. So we'll just be monitoring those series. And I'm just hoping for a good one. Some of these guys are confident. Trey Taylor talking about Celtics in 5. So he's pretty confident that the Celtics will take this. I can't see that. And so being the superstitious Celtic fan that I am, I'm not moving in that direction. But speaking of moving, we're going to go into a totally different direction overall. So again, thank you everybody for your contributions to this girl sport. Talking about NBA basketball. But we're going to go into the combat sport, the man sport area now. And we have my guy.
Happened this weekend.
So we have my guy here, Mandrell, who's, certainly has a background in boxing. We're both huge boxing fans. And so I wanted him on the show tonight. He was able to join us tonight to talk about this big week and actually this big month. And I got to say congrats to Ukraine. In the month of May, they have 3 champions, 2 at the lightweight division. You figure this guy fought on Saturday night on ESPN. So he won. I think his name is Dennis. I got a hard time pronouncing his name, but you figure he won. He beat a guy who was supposed to upset Dennis Berinchek. He beat Emmanuel Navarrete for one of the lightweight belts. And then you had Lomachenko won earlier. He went to Australia, and he beat George Kambosos with a body shot. Definitely took him out. So you got 2 of the 4. What's that?
It was Lomachenko. Did you expect anything else?
No, I didn't. I mean, but give credit to Kambosos, for a guy who had won the biggest one of his life. He was able to parlay that into 4 fights, 3 of them in Australia, made it a decent amount of money. So for one fight, and that was an upset over upset win that he had. So he was able to overtake Teofimo Lopez. So he was able to garner that into just even in losses. He won 3 losses, but he made a bunch of money in doing that. So shout out to George. It might be time for you to step off the stage in fighting and just enjoy the rest of your life. But yeah. So you had Lomachenko got a belt at 135. You have Berinchyk won a belt at 135, and one of the ugliest fights, I must say, also, because the guy he fought, Navarrete, he was moving up in weight. I think he started at 122, won championships there. He was going for his 4th championship. Looked slow as molasses. It wasn't an entertaining fight. But nevertheless, so at 135, the 4 belt holders are Lomachenko, Berinchyk, Tank Davis, and Shakur Stevenson. So so now the fact that a couple of those guys are on ESPN, 3 of those guys are on ESPN. So if they want to make a move in that direction, I mean, Tank is clearly the draw at 135. So I think everyone's going to want to for the money. Everyone's going to want to get into the ring with Tank. Shakur, he's talented, but he has a boring style, and I'm not sure if anyone's going to garner a lot of interest in that. But he is a recognized champion. And so, again, those 4 are in position to get it on. But, again, shout out to Ukraine. The third one, obviously, was the Usyk and Fury fight. So, in the month of May, 3 championships went to Ukrainians. And we all know about the situation going on in Ukraine right now. So, salute to those guys. I'm sure they gave a boost of spirits to the country of Ukraine. But let's get into the main fight itself. Again, Fury and Usyk going in. We talked about it a little bit on last week's show. I was certainly I picked Fury to win. I saw pictures of him leading up to the fight. He looked very good. Again, for a guy who comes in. Let me have my opening monologue, and I'm going to give you the floor. You're gonna be able to spill everything I'm saying here. So, guys, just sit back and watch this. All right, sit back and watch. We're gonna have this exchange here. But feel free to jump in any time. So again, the guy looked good. It looked like he was in shape. He came in just about 262. Which is very light for him. I figured he wanted to be lighter because obviously Usyk is a very good boxer. He was going to move around the ring. So I figured he was going to – I didn't think he took the fight with Ngannou seriously. Came in, I think, out of shape for that fight. And I thought he was a lot more serious this time. Went in there and competed. And I thought it was a great fight overall. They're clearly going to have a rematch with this. And I think they're targeting October for a rematch, which also leads to one of the questions that we're going to be talking about today. No controversy over the winner. I think clearly, me and Mandrill will agree that Fury lost this fight. The only thing I would have contention with, I went back and I saw the fight again. He texted me. I was actually doing. He texted me in the 9th round. He says, "Who you got winning so far?" I said, I had Fury up. I had him up 5-3. You had Usyk up 5-3 at that point. And when I saw the rematch again, I still confirm. In fact, I could make an argument for 6 rounds for Fury and only 2 rounds for Usyk. I thought clearly Fury won rounds 4-7, and he beat him up really. He really put the wood on him in round 6. So I thought rounds 4 through 7 were clearly Fury. And if you want to give Usyk maybe 2 of the first 3 rounds, you can do that. I didn't think he swept the first 3 rounds. So again, my pick 5-3 for Fury going into that 9th round where everything changed. Right in that, you could say the end of the 8th where I think he hit him in the nose. He might have broke his nose at that point or something. Came out in the 9th, got rocked, and the whole thing collapsed. But again, and this is another controversy. Fury was hit, went stumbling into the ropes. And the refs gave a standing 8 count to Fury. Now, according to the rules, if the ropes keep you up, the ref has the right to give you a standing 8 count. But he was defenseless. Now, Mandrell had problems with that. I could certainly make a case too that he maybe shouldn't have. I don't think he should have stopped it. But at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mandrell. Give us your perspective up through and including the 9th round, what you saw in the fight, and then we can kind of revisit this again. And anyone else who, if you had a chance to see the fight, you can certainly get or the replay or the highlights of the fight, you can certainly give your commentary on it. But I will turn it over uninterrupted to Mandrell. You can take it any way you want, sir.
Gotcha. Well, it was a much closer fight than people might give it credit for. It was a really good fight, though. It was back and forth. Fury's problem is that he tried to outbox a boxer. Fury's just a big guy. And here's the thing: Fury had 40 pounds on him. Fury fought the wrong fight. If you look at when he fought Deontay Wilder, he grabbed him, clinched, leaned that big fat body on him, and he had 40 pounds on Usyk. 40 pounds. And Usyk still won.
Yeah.
And rocked the shit out of him.
Yeah.
I knew Usyk had that kind of power. Usyk kind of took the same road I did to heavyweight. Like back in the day, Usyk fought Sean Porter in the amateurs. That's how light Usyk was.
Right.
He's a welterweight, and he worked his way up and got to cruiserweight.
Undisputed cruiserweight champion.
Yeah, where he's most comfortable in cruiserweight. And he became undisputed champion at cruiserweight. And they asked him, "What are you going to do now?" He said, "I want to be undisputed heavyweight." His mind was focused on that the whole time. This night, his mind was focused on that, and he got heavyweight. Had about 6 fights in him. Got used to the heavyweight division. Got in there with Fury and did what he does. Alexander Usyk's no joke. And I couldn't wait until Tyson Fury lost. See, now all the big three have lost, every single one of them. Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, and AJ. And I hate to put AJ in that category. I do. I hate it. AJ's out now. He's not one of the big three anymore.
No, he's not.
Now, they're gonna make Usyk.
But they're gonna make that whatever comes out that fight, he's gonna be in the mix again. He's in line because what they wanted, especially if Fury wins the next one, they want that fight in Wembley, 100,000 people in Britain. So that fight is still going to sell out. I mean, that's going to be a major fight if those guys get on.
The issue is that Usyk is probably going to get stripped of the IBF belt.
Yes, we're going to talk about that because that was a question that was raised.
Fury and see the IBF. I can tell you about this. Listen, I was ranked in that. They fold for no one. All the boxing politics and the backdoor deals and all this stuff and the payoffs, it doesn't fly in the IBF. They're not having it. The rules are the rules. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So with them, but back to this fight. Okay, in that night, overall, I give it 8 rounds to Usyk, 4 to Fury. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that 9th round, it was a turnaround. That ref, Fury's been getting special treatment for a long time. The first fight with Wilder, he got special treatment.
Right. He got a long count. It's like 14 seconds. He was on the canvas. Yep.
He got special treatment there. That second fight, he got special treatment again. He got another long count. He was on the mat longer than a 10 count. Because not only is the ref counting people, but there's a person on the outside of the ring who counts.
The ref is supposed to match his count with the guy outside. His count is really the one that counts, not the refs.
Exactly. The one on the guy outside, he got to like 13.
Yeah.
And then Fury was just not getting up off the mat in the second fight.
Right.
The third fight, that's when both of them fought hard. I think that's the best we're ever going to see them. Wilder, Fury 3. That's the best you're ever going to see. Because like I said before, fellas, that's a fight where two fighters left a piece of themselves in the ring.
It's like Ali Frazier 3.
Right.
Thriller and Manila. They should have. Both of those guys should have retired after that fight. That was it.
Yeah. They'll never.
We weren't going to get any higher than that.
And look what happened after that fight. After Wilder Fury 3.
Yeah.
Fury fought. What's it? The UFC guy. The African.
Ngannou. Yeah.
Ngannou. He fought Ngannou. A mess.
Yeah.
A hot mess. Fury Wilder got in the fight. He loses. He got but he gets in the ring. Yeah,
didn't want to throw a punch. That was the thing about it. He would not let his hands go.
Yeah,
so typically as a fighter, when your hands don't go, it's over. It's like you lost that eye of the tiger. You lost that edge. He would not let his hands go for anything in that fight. And unfortunately, he's going to fight this other guy, Zhang from China. He's going to fight him. He may get knocked out because I just don't see, him coming back from that.
Zhang's heavy. Unless
and he's a big puncher, though.
Right. As long as this loss gives Wilder that focus back, because I'm with you on this one, Mr. Bennett. I don't want to hear about you acting. I don't want to hear about you doing ayahuasca. Why are you doing ayahuasca as a boxer anyway? Anyway, I don't want to hear about you doing ayahuasca.
Yeah, he's at peace now. He found his his happy place.
Right. I don't want to hear about that. Listen, if you're gonna fight,
Right.
Focus on fighting because you can get in that ring and get hurt. You know what I mean? So AJ,
Yes.
AJ's out. My boy Usyk, okay, he's in. He's undisputed. Period. He snuck right in behind all of us. See that? Well, Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum, that fucking guy. Okay, see Bob Arum.
Hey, Major, real quick, I got a question for you. I was reading something about the fight, just been catching up on it, and they were saying that basically Fury got bad intel that he had won the fight in the later rounds. That his corner told him that.
His corner
and I was
was
just like,
his corner was a miss. Okay, he had his father yelling
That's
at him.
pretty
He had
bad.
his trainer talking to him. So you got data coming from two different people. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
His corner was a mess, Fury. Okay, and they did think that he was ahead, but I think that they did tell him that. But I think his corner knew he had lost, but they were telling him not to take any unnecessary risks so he wouldn't get hurt because that 9th round, Fury was hurt the rest of that fight. He was concussed. Like at the end of the fight, he was saying "Happy New Year." It's like.
Yeah.
No, dude.
But give credit to his recovery. I mean, the end of the 9th, he was in such bad shape at the 9th. The fact that he was still able to go another 3 rounds is amazing. Now you can talk about the ref. Now let's talk about the 9th. Now here's where I disagree with Mandrell. Now again, I would say don't stop the fight. I'm saying let him go out on the shield, just like he took Wilder out on his shield. Hit him with that right, and it was over. In that position, let Usyk come in, let him put the killing stroke on him, and finish him off. But I would not have given him an 8 count. So you either don't give him the 8, let him go out on his shield, and there'd be no controversy over it. But if you're going to give him the 8, then again, he was so hurt at the end of the 9th, Usyk did not come out in round 10 and finish him off.
Usyk's an intelligent fighter. Usyk knew that knockdown's all he needed. That was done because Fury's not going to win the rest of those rounds. He wasn't. You had 3 more rounds after that. 3 more rounds. Okay, you had 9.
I'm just saying with the politics of boxing, the way we know it now, clearly the fight that everybody wanted, what the Saudis especially wanted, was I don't know if they was going to do it in UK or they were going to do it in Saudi. But again, Fury and AJ is the fight that they wanted. We've already seen AJ and Usyk. AJ can't deal with him.
No.
So this is the fight that they want. So we've seen stranger things happen. And again, it was a closely scored fight. One of the judges gave the fight to Fury despite the 10-8 in the 9th.
The robbery. That was.
So I'm just saying. So if you know that's likely to happen, you got a guy hurt, you take him out, and he didn't. So again, I think he's very fortunate to come out with the victory that he did. Because again, there's another round they had him up was 114-113 Usyk, and then the decisive I think was like 116-112 or something to that effect. So that was the only one that was decisive. So again, you don't take the guy out. You allow the guy to stick around. The 12th round I thought was almost an even round. I don't think it was decisive. He didn't even close it out strongly to win. It was a very dangerous tactic. So I think, in that situation, knowing all the card, where everybody wants this to go, because again, no one wants to see AJ in Usyk 3. Nobody wants to see that. And so you got to take him out.
My thing is this though. That standing 8 count was a way to try to rob that victory from Usyk. You saw bad boxing politics right then and there.
But
like I said, Fury gets special treatment all the time. No, you let the guy finish. How often? Number one, you don't see that happen every day or in every boxing match. Normally,
but I'm saying it's in the referee's toolbox. Now, look, I didn't want to see the 8 count either. I'm with you. I did not want to see it, but I can't call it a fool because again, by rule, if the ropes keep you up, it's a standing 8. The ref can give you a standing 8. So
you know better.
Look, I hate it. I'll reiterate for the 5th time. I hated the standing 8. He's on the ropes like this. I'm saying Fury, land that right hand, finish it. That's it. It's done.
Usyk had to push the ref out of his way 3 times during that 9th round. He had to push the ref out of the way 3 times.
Yeah.
The ref got in the way, while Usyk was trying to put him away, the ref got in his way 3 times. Usyk had to push him out of the way. Then he stops him, gives him an 8 count. No. It's a ridiculous rule that shouldn't be there. But I understand it's there to protect the fighters, to keep them from getting seriously hurt. But that was, and then that judge.
I'm old school. I'm like, let a guy finish on that for the undisputed heavyweight championship, what we haven't had in 25 years. And again, keep in mind, this is the 4-belt era. So we're not talking about back in the 80s when there's only 3 belts. The WBO is now considered part of the core 4. So this has been undisputed at 4 belts. So I'm saying for that, I'm old school. I'm like, let them die on their shields, and there'll be no controversy after the fight. So again, congrats to Usyk. He fought a great fight. I thought it was going bad for him, especially that 6th round. Fury was hitting with the uppercuts, and I thought he had command of the fight at that time. And in that end of the 8th, going into the 9th, Usyk was able to turn it, and certainly so. Again, congrats to him. Now, controversy coming out again. Question was raised. IBF is looking to strip Usyk of the IBF belt, and part of why that happens. Now, keep in mind, in boxing, you have really this 4 major entities in boxing. Obviously, you have the fighter, you have the promotion, you have the networks, and then you have the sanctioning bodies. For the last few years, those first 3 have controlled boxing. So again, if the fighter doesn't want to fight somebody, or the promotional company doesn't want to put that person with certain people, they let that happen. And you also have these rematch clauses where you can have a fighter or a couple fighters locked up for a period of time. We saw this with Spence and Crawford. Now everyone remembers the fight from last year. Terrific performance by Crawford. Everybody thought boxing is on its way up again. Boxing always beats itself. This was a great fight. We were looking forward to the next one. There was a rematch clause put into it. They should have fought. That was April, May of last year. They should have fought by September. Spence has a surgery, another eye surgery, and the window of opportunity to negotiate the terms of the next fight passed by. In the meantime, you have other guys who are standing in the rings. Again, these boxers, people pay to these sanctioning bodies to be ranked so they can get into top position to get championship opportunities. You got a guy at 147. Just had a brain freeze right now at 147 who's considered the next one. He's been trying to get, no one's been wanting to fight this guy. Nobody. And he's been waiting on the side. You know what I'm talking about, man, Joe, right? Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis.
Oh, yeah.
Boots Ennis is considered like the next guy. None of the champions wanted to fight him. So, but you tied up Spence and Crawford trying to get this rematch together and possibly a third fight. That's another thing. Let's say if they split 1-1, then you open up the opportunity for the third fight. And knowing how long it takes to get these fights together, you could be talking about a year and a half where the titles are locked up.
Probably longer.
And other guys can't, right. And other guys who are, look, I've been number 1 contender. I'm trying to get my shine, and I can't get it because guys are tying up these belts. And so sanctioning bodies, now some of them are in the pocket, like Canelo Alvarez and the WBC. They're never going to, clearly, everybody wants him to fight David Benavidez. That's out there. He's been number 1. That's clearly the fight to make. Canelo clearly doesn't want the fight. He said, if you want me to fight him, I want $200 million. $200 million. That nobody asked for that. He doesn't, but the WBC will not strip him because the WBC, Mexico, and Canelo Alvarez are joined at the hip. And so the IBF, they're showing some guts in terms of saying, no, we're not going to have Fury and Usyk controlling the championship. We have a number 1 contender already who's earned the right to fight for a championship. We don't. If you don't fight him next, we're going to strip you of the belt. And so I think the sanctioning bodies now, at least with the IBF, we'll see what the other ones do. They're trying to have a voice now to say, look, you guys can't tie up the belts and just stop all the progress and let you guys, work all this stuff out. Well, guys are in waiting looking for their shine. And that's what's been happening. There's been a lot of collusion over the last few years.
Right, but the thing is, the IBF has always been like that. Like I said, they don't fold for anybody, and
Mhm.
in fact, a lot of boxers run from that belt. They don't want it because it's the most competitive. It's the most competitive sanctioning body, and they have strict rules, and you have to follow them. You want to keep the belt. You want championship purses from them, then you got to follow the rules. And a lot of
Yeah.
boxers actually avoid that belt, the IBF. And again, if you want the most reputable and on the up and up sanctioning body, it is the IBF. It just there's
Yeah.
no
Yeah,
contest.
the WBA, the WBC, yeah, they're
WBC is
too much
corrupt.
inclusion of the fight, especially if they're I'll put it out there, if they're Latin fighters,
Yeah.
they've been
Like-
over
like
backwards
Alvarez
for
is the
these
golden boy right
fighters.
now. Right, like Alvarez.
Yes,
he's the golden boy
absolutely.
right
Can't
now.
touch him.
And Crawford said that he wanted to fight Alvarez. Alvarez says, "No, I don't want to fight him." But see, Alvarez gets to call his own shots for some reason, and these sanctioning bodies aren't holding him to task.
Yeah.
You do have because everything you said is absolutely right. You have number one contenders who don't get their shots, and they age out some of them, and you're holding up opportunities from everybody else. But again, the IBF don't play that, so they will strip you.
Yeah,
They're not kidding
Yeah.
around. Like you better offer them something.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
better fight that number one that fighter. I mean, otherwise you'll get stripped. They don't care who you are.
yeah.
They don't care.
So
They
Black
will
Man.
strip
So again, they haven't stripped him yet. They basically given a warning because again, it's already if they're already saying now. Again, the fight just happened last weekend. They're already saying that they're going to be preparing for the rematch in the fall, October. So that
Yeah.
again, another 6 months
And the thing
where
is, though,
their number one contender is going to be on the shelf. And then again, we don't know what happens after that. We don't know if Usyk or Fury retires it. We don't know what's going to happen. But you're keeping these fighters in limbo, and they got to because every time you fight, you risk. So again, the guy he can't just sit on the sidelines for a year and a half. He's got to fight. He gets in. He gets beat by somebody else. Then he's shot. So I think
But-
what the IBF is doing, honestly, I think it should be done more across the board. I think all these sanctioned bodies should have that. It shouldn't be any debates over if you're the undisputed champ, then you have obligations to each one of those sanctioned bodies. Now, you can sometimes these guys they pay money. They'll say, "Look, we'll pay the number one contender. We'll pay you $2 million or whatever, $5 million to sit this one out." While me and this other guy get it on, and then once we get it on, then we'll come back to you, and then you can get it on. So, so guys have been paid to sit out with these
They
other
don't-
sanctioning bodies,
right.
But so I think, yeah,
I appreciate you breaking it down. The way you explain that, man, Joe, I can understand. Like, hey, I got a guy here. You too, Mr. Ben. I got a guy here. He's chomping at the bit, especially in sport like boxing.
Mhm.
You can only do it so much. You can't go out there like a basketball game and we playing, 4
Yeah.
and 7 nights. Like, nah, I can
Yeah.
only do this in a certain amount of time, and timing is everything in sports. So if you have
Right.
a worthy contender, my only question is this. Look, I caught that fight and I was busy and it came on at an odd time and I was like, dang. But if they rematch, I want to catch it. What are the odds of them realistically getting it done, setting it up by October?
They're gonna have it. Whatever it is, it's gonna have to be. But here's the thing: what everything Mr. Bennett is saying has been true, and I'll tell you whose fault that is. It's Tyson Fury's. This is why people like him don't need to have championship titles. He pushes fights
Yeah.
back. He plays games. He's up to shenanigans, and it's because he's lazy. Like he doesn't train. Like he's pushed this fight here back 3 times. He says Happy New Year at the end of the fight because it was originally supposed to happen New Year's time frame. It was supposed to happen then. That's why tonight he thought it was New. He was concussed, dude. Like the guy should never have had
yeah.
microphone in his face.
Right, the fight in
He was
January,
concussed.
he got a cut, and then so they had to push the fight off. But he'll say this with all these guys. He said, "Yeah, I'm fighting you next. I'm fighting you next. Yeah, get the contract." They give him a proposal for the contract. It says, "Yeah, it's like they'll give him the advantage." So, it's a 65-35 advantage Fury. He'll come up and say, "No, I want 75," and
Right.
push it off again. And then there's a couple months go by, and then we don't get the fights that we want. So again, and this is one of the reasons why. Now again, I've always said, boxing at its best, beats UFC at its best.
Yeah,
Because I challenge all these UFC guys. And I know there's some guys in the back who love UFC. Name me a memorable UFC fight that you're talking about from 5 years ago. You can't. You don't have that. I mean, Rousey getting knocked out by Holly Holm might be like the most. That might be the most memorable stuff because Rousey was just like a character. Like she just said all this kind of stuff or whatever. But
a lot of nonsense, bro.
Yeah,
she said she's the greatest fighter of all time.
I know. So it was over the top. But that's the thing. Dana sells you like a lot of candy. But the thing is though, they put the guys that he wants to fight. So like I said, you got 4 entities: the fighter, the promoter, the network, and the sanctioning body. With UFC, it's just Dana White. So he can put on the fight that he wants whenever he wants to do it. I mean, if Conor McGregor wants to fight for the championship tomorrow, he could put him in with somebody now. So there is no such thing as like moving. They can say, well, this guy's the number 1 contender or whatever. It doesn't matter to Dana. He's going to put on the fights that people want. So again, there's less entities that are involved. Now, what has happened positive for boxing is the Saudis. Because the guy in Saudi, he's like, look,
that's Saudi bag, man.
Because people squabble over money, it's like, look, I'll pay you guys $100 million, $50 million each. I just want you in Saudi. He'll get promoters who, like I said, work against each other, Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. He'll put enough money on the table that says, look, I don't care what you guys don't like each other. I just want the fights. So here's $50 million to you, $50 million to you. Get your guys in the ring. And all of a sudden, Eddie Hearn and Frank Martin are on stage hugging and kissing each other. They're the best of friends now. So when we talk about money talks, it really does. That has buoyed boxing because there's too much money on the table for any of these guys to walk away from. That's why boxing has been held in Saudi for the time. Now, I don't like the atmosphere. It's like a carnival atmosphere, but it's not a boxing crowd. Like the guys there, like all these in the front rows, like all these sheiks and whatnot, and they're like, they're just happy to be there. But these guys aren't boxing fans. It's not like a fight at the Garden or at T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. It doesn't have that kind of flair to it. But nevertheless, though, the money's on the table. But with Dana, he can put on the fights that you want, and that's why UFC has its popularity. But if boxing can ever get its act together, or if these Saudis continue to invest in boxing, keep in mind, they took a loss on this. From what I understand, because of piracy, they lost $120 million in piracy because everyone's, streaming, or they get those devices now. You can buy these boxes now and just get all the free stuff or whatever. And they lost $120 million in pay-per-view revenues. But he doesn't care because Saudis, they got so much money. They just.
But wait, it was on the
they lost a lot of money.
I thought it was on ESPN Plus.
No, I'm saying, but you can buy. But the zone, first of all, you still have to pay $70. No, and you still need a subscription. That's why I got it on ESPN Plus. Yeah. But you still have to buy a subscription to either ESPN Plus or the Zone, and they still want pay-per-view money. Now, when the Zone got started, it was just pay us $20 a month, and you can see every fight that you want. That changed very quickly when they signed Canelo Alvarez for $300 million. That changed everything. They said, "Look, we ain't doing that." So, in addition to the monthly cost, you still have to pay. Now, I would say this: it's still reasonable. I mean, $70, and they had fights on all day. They had like seven, 8 fights that whole card. So it's like they start in the morning, and it's like it ends in the early evening. So from you definitely get more bang for your buck. I mean, I'm still smart and spending $100-some for Pacquiao and Mayweather back in the day, and that was a god awful fight. So so certainly it's a good value, but again, the Saudis, they don't care. They're like, look, I just want to get the best fight, the best, get them in the ring, and we'll worry about the money later. We got money. Literally, they got money to burn. But with Dana, the fact that he controls it, that's why he's able. He gets people steal streams there also, but they don't care because his costs are a lot lower, and he doesn't pay his fighter. Like you could be like on his level that they're paying these guys like $500,000 for a fight. Conor and those guys, only a couple guys. Conor can make $10 million right now. I don't know why. He hasn't won a fight in like last 7-8 years, but he still draws people.
Yeah, and Conor with this next fight he has coming up, I'm But I feel sorry for Conor McGregor. He's got way too many problems. Like the drugs and the headshots have really taken their toll on him. I saw him in an interview doing this because they're talking about that movie Roadhouse that he was in with Jake Gyllenhaal, right? Jake Gyllenhaal is a consummate professional, and I kid you not, he was doing it. I was like, "Yo, whatever you smoking, you need to quit, bro. Please quit that now." I mean, but but you're right. But here's the thing: he clearly doesn't need to be in the ring, but Dana's putting him in, and Dana can do that because, like you said, he's the only one. There are no other promoters. There are no sanctioning bodies. It's just like how John Jones beats his wife. Okay, he gets away with that. He hits a pregnant woman, runs off, comes back to get his cocaine, but forgets some of it in the car. Runs off. Gets caught popping steroids. John Jones gets away with all kind of shenanigans, and Dana just covers for him. But it doesn't happen like that in boxing. Boxing. But here's the thing, though. I still like UFC. I just like a fight, fellas. Dante, Shawnee. I like to see a fight. I do. I don't care who's fighting. I don't care why. If it's two grown men throwing hands, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and watch it. Okay?
Right.
I'm walking down the street or something like that, or I'm at a store, a fight break out in the store. I'm going to stop. I'm not going to lie to you, fellas. I'm going to stop what I'm doing and watch.
You just like people getting hit. You like to see people getting hit.
I'm going to forget what I came to the store for. No, why would I do that?
Get it out your system.
Yeah.
There you go.
They need to let it out.
You go.
They need to let it out.
Yeah. So boxing, like I said, boxing has its issues, but again, we've had some good fights. There's still some great fights to be made. Again, you got Tank Davis gets back in the ring, I think on June 20th. So again, with those four, like I said, him, Shakur, Lomachenko, and Berinchyk. So there's definitely fights that could be made there. We'll see what Crawford wants. I mean, Crawford's kind of in limbo right now again after his most successful fight. Yeah,
I wanted to touch on that. Crawford is in limbo because he's in a position where nobody wants to fight him.
True.
And because when they saw what he did to Spence, because that's when Crawford went into his bag. He's never had to go in his bag before that, not really. But he went into his bag, and he like after the fourth round, dude, he stopped going full speed. If you notice, he stepped off. He came up off the gas,
right?
And he still put the whammy on Spence.
Oh,
you know what I'm
brutal.
saying?
Yeah.
Even with that, he too skilled, too talented. His reflexes and reaction times too much. His bag is just way too deep, and he's one of those once in a generation geniuses where it's all at the forefront of his mind and consciousness. It's there when he needs it or wants it. He's just one of those people that's hard to beat. But he's in a situation where nobody wants to fight him because they don't think they can beat him. And
I think now I'll say this. I think Boots Ennis would fight him. Boots just signed with the Zone. Yeah, Boots just signed with the Zone. He has a fight coming up this summer. I think they can certainly pull that off. Certainly by the fall, they can have a fight, him and Boots on the Zone. I think that would, because again, you can sell it. This is the next. He's the next one, and he can certainly. And because I don't want to see Spence fight anymore. All right, I'll just say that right now. I think he's too damaged. The accidents, the beating that he took. I think he's too damaged to goods to be in the ring. I think he needs to retire. And
the kid who just fought Haney, but popped for steroids, he just went up to 147.
Yeah. Oh, that's another one. So he's about to now hit. I was waiting. I was looking all day because his sample B. So he failed for two steroids. Well, the last test, one he didn't fail for, but he still failed twice for the one. The B sample, the results were supposed to come out today. So I'm waiting to see what happens there. But again, now what's supposed to happen? If past his prologue, he should get at least 1 year suspension for being on the steroid. But again, it's Ryan Garcia. It depends on who it is. It's Ryan Garcia. So they may.
How many times has Dillian White been caught popping hot?
Oh,
that last test when he was supposed to fight AJ, but Andy Ruiz fought and said, and beat AJ. But Dillian White was supposed to fight.
He lives high though. He lives high.
And
I mean, so
that last time, if you turned the lights off on him, he'd have started glowing.
Yeah,
like he was pumped up with that much stuff, and it's like, yo,
yeah,
bro, you wouldn't even try.
Yeah, so we don't know what's going to happen with the bodies. I mean, Ryan would be an attractive fight. I mean, he's a marketable guy. We all know he's got all the followers.
Miller, Big Baby, Gerald Miller, Big Baby. Like I said,
he's crazy too. But
how many times he popped up hot? It didn't get suspended. He got a fine or something like that. But that was it. Like I said, the last time, if you'd have turned the lights off on him, he'd have started glowing. He has so much stuff in his system, dude. like Mrs. Bennett is like, okay, bro, I can't feel sorry for you. You didn't even try to cover that up. Like you had too much in your body.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah. So I mean, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But again, there's still good fights to be made. But boxing again is a lot more. Like I said, the Saudis are the ones who brought some kind of order because they can draw people with the money to put aside some of that stuff. Well, I'm still waiting to see what happens with Garcia. If he gets suspended, it's even money whether or not he does or not, because they're not gonna they're not gonna get rid of the cash cow. I just can't see them doing it.
And plus, he's just moved up to 147. So it's like, okay, now he can go up there and try his luck there. Crawford again. That's my guy. That's my guy. This generation. Yeah. That's the pound for pound the best boxer on the planet. It has been for a while. He's in a situation where he has no choice. He has to move up. But Alvarez is not willing to come down to fight him. Alvarez doesn't want to fight him because he's afraid of losing.
Well, I don't think he can come down anyway. I think he's staying on. I mean, he comes in 180, 185 for the fight. So he's not. But the fact that's the thing. Canelo won't even fight guys at his own weight.
No, he won't.
His last 3-4 guys, they've all come in from 154 and up. And now they're talking about Crawford coming in from 147 to fight him. Well, you got guys at 168, like I said, David Benavidez, who everybody there's no question. In fact, he's talking about he's moving up. He's fighting also in the same card as Tank Davis. He's fighting at 175. But, that's the fight that everybody wants to see. And Canelo simply will not make that happen because he's only concerned about his legacy and concerned about leaving the sport on top financially. But, I think everyone knows that he would more than likely lose because, again, he's just got too much power. I thought that his last fight, the guy he fought, I thought the guy landed some bombs on him. But he's a bigger guy. The guy, Munguia, came up for 160 to 168. He's taller than Canelo, but he's thin. And he hit Canelo with some shots early on, and Canelo just, as soon as he hit him, he just hit him right back. So I'm like, man, I don't have the stuff to beat this guy. He's like granite. I can't move him. And so, but how does that do? What does that do for his legacy if you're beating up smaller guys all the time? When you did try to move up to 175 and fought for the championship, you lost.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the guy in front of you is the obvious guy. Make the fight happen. It's two Latin fighters, wherever you have it. AT&T Stadium in Dallas, wherever you have it. That is going to be the biggest fight that can be made, even the heavyweights. That's going to be the fight to be made.
I don't think make it, man.
It won't.
Like I said, it's that's the toughest thing when you do like as a casual. It's like, hey, I want to get in boxing. I want to see these guys fight. You look up and it's just like, oh, they got a deal coming. Nah, I fell through. And it's like, that's a frustrating thing. So I know you was boxing curious. I know you guys hate that, but
I did like it.
I didn't realize Fury would play that many games like that.
Yeah, but honestly, I gotta admit, I earned a lot more respect for Fury in losing than in victory. Because again, came back from the ninth, stayed competitive. I thought he fought a good. Like I said, I had him up until the ninth. 4 through 7, I think he clearly won. So going into the 8th, it was up 4-3. I definitely thought he took one, if not the first 3 rounds, at least one of those rounds. So again, he had a good game plan. He boxed. I thought he really started to take control in the 6th and then the 7th. It turned at the end of the 8th, and it was a disaster in 9. But he came in, he put in a performance, he came back. I thought he was relatively humble for him in his
was.
loss and his press conference. Relatively so.
He said that the only reason why
I understand. I'm saying it's Tyson Fury though. So I'm saying for him, I'm not.
Tyson Fury says out of his mouth,
I know.
in the ring, the only reason why they gave him that decision is because they have the war in Ukraine.
Yeah,
And then while he's on his way backstage, he says, "They fucking robbed me." He's talking about they robbed him.
When he said that, I was just like, "You gotta drop it and leave it and just like you lost the fight." And I was
one of the judges gave him
one
of the judges gave him the nod. So like you started off with, man. You said it was a close fight. So that's the thing. If it's close, then it can't be an 8. Then if it's a close fight, it can't be an 8-4.
It is an 8-4.
That's not a close fight.
Going back to
8-4 with a 10-8 round is not a close fight. It was a very competitive fight. 115, 113 type of fight.
What I'm saying is they're not big. It's not like he won big in the 8 rounds that I gave him. Now there's 2 rounds where he did win. Usyk did win big. That's 8 and 9. Of course. Round 89, hands down, all the way him. But I'm not saying that they were. I gave him all those rounds and it's like, okay, yeah, Usyk was just schooling them. No, they were tough. They were close. Each round was a close decision. Like even the ones I gave Fury, it was tight.
Mm-hmm.
It was tight. It wasn't easy to give.
No, I thought the 6th and the 7th. I thought he was dominant, especially in the 6th. He was hitting him with the uppercuts and whatnot. Those body shots he took. Yeah,
I get to see.
He took it to him there.
7.
He won 7 too. I mean, the 6 was the most dominant. Like I said, 4 through 7, I thought were clearly Fury. Give him one of the first 3, as I told you. 5-3 going into the 8th. Again, very, very, very competitive at that point. But again, I thought that he showed. You didn't know what was going to happen. He showed up. I thought he showed up in shape, and everything was on cruise control until he got caught, and that was the ball game. But I hope they, if they do get it going again, certainly I would definitely watch the rematch. Like I said, the Spence Crawford, I didn't think I want to watch that rematch. To be quite honest, if they would have got it on, I don't think I would have watched it. You know what I'm saying? He was beat up so bad with everything else going on, and he had a cataract afterwards. Right? He had to have surgery for a cataract after that.
It was come on. I think that's a cover story. I think it was an orbital.
Whatever it was, the guy is brittle. He's broken. He's a broken man. He's fortunate in every aspect to be alive. And you're gonna put him in with as you said, the pound per pound number 1 fighter in the world. No, I don't want that fight. As soon as he gets touched, I'm stopping the fight. I'm just saying, I am not gonna let Spence get beat up. I'm just not. That is human. That's inhumane. I thought they should have stopped the first fight 2 rounds earlier.
I did too.
So no.
They could have stopped that fight 2 rounds earlier.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm not gonna. No. There's certain things. I'm just. You know how slurred his speech was afterwards too. No.
I saw it and it was just like, I know that's my guy. He's local, but it was just kind of like, hey man, don't get messed up too bad in this ring. Like you can tell me and Shawnee we was out watching it and we was just like, yeah, man, it's you figured it out real quick. It was like, okay, this is a superior fighter. At first it was like, let's see how long you can stay on. Can you? I was like, nah, let's. If they would have called it 2 rounds early, I would have been mad. I'd have been like,
the thing about that one, because he's from DFW, so the local news they was talking about it. Then they did a lot. They was hyping it up. It's a local boy. It's a big fight. It's going to be in Jerry World. You think they were just so sad afterwards, man. I'm like, it was ugly. It was so much DFW hype, and you talking about. It reminded me because I live close to the TCU campus, and you remember when TCU played Georgia in the championship game. Before that game, after the big win versus Michigan, Fort Worth was hype.
Was crazy.
And then after that championship game, I drove over in the area, You normally see people walking around. It was just quiet. It was no sound. So that reminded me how VFW as a whole for the local was spent, and after that fight,
it was
so. But that's a good analogy, by the way.
I worked that last fight he had.
That's a great analogy. The way Georgia beat
in the building, it was to go from seeing that energy and AT&T and seeing that beat down, it was just like.
That's a great analogy, though. Yeah, Georgia, the way they beat down TCU.
That's exactly what it was.
Crawford beat up Spence. Absolutely. Yeah. That's good.
Rough, man.
Okay, fellas. Because I want to hear from them. Like, okay, fellas, this fight, because I want y'all to get your money's worth of boxing. It's a sport I grew up loving. I still love it. I still do it. All right, fellas.
So do I.
This is the kind of fight that you pay your money to see. And why you guys miss these? I don't know. You miss Fury Wilder 3, which is historic. Like as in terms of
I missed what I know I missed Fury Wilder 3. I thought he was going to get killed again. And I bought 2 and I was hyped up, and it was just like there is nothing more crushing than watching a boxer that you root for lose. And that's like it's crushing, but I was like, I didn't know if 3 was gonna be there. And then I hear how great it was, and I pissed at myself. So it's one of those deals. This one with Usyk, if they fight again, for me seeing it, I'm just gonna buy it just off of the strength of like, look, I want to be entertained. I want to see. And then my thing is, he beat my guy. I want to see Fury lose. I want to see him get beat down. I was thrilled to see him on the ropes. I watched that so many damn times. I was like, my dude can't beat you. Somebody can.
And my thing is getting special treatment, man. He gets special treatment. That standing 8 count was special treatment. You're supposed to let Usyk finish him like any other fight. You're supposed to let him finish it. But again, that's why I was so frustrated, Mr. Bennett. It's just, again, dude, you had someone save you. He had someone save him. Because I don't think if Fury hit the mat, I don't think Fury's getting up after that. It was too much. He didn't know where he was. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, after the fact, he was still that concussed. Yeah. I mean, but I'm glad Fury lost all the same. Shout out to the Gypsy King, you loser. Okay, you lost. It was about time. No one came to help you. Well, even when people came to help you, that's why I like Usyk's victory here. Even with all the help that the Gypsy King had, he overcame the judges. He overcame the ref. He pulled out that undisputed title anyway.
Yeah,
that's you got to do it, fellas.
Yeah. But they're gonna do it again. They're gonna do it again in October, hopefully. But if not, then IBF strips and then they promote their guy. Trey, you've been pretty silent on this. Certainly want to get your feedback on this. Did you get a chance to catch any of the action, or any thoughts on what we've been talking about? So,
I caught the highlights. Hey,
Trey don't watch Man Sports.
Well, Mandrell, I play football, so I had to.
I play football too.
Okay, so, it's all good, Mandrell. We can do a power sweep if you want to, and you can tackle me and have fun with that. But
power sweep.
I hate you. Power sweep.
No one calls it that anymore, Trey.
I don't know, man. Boxing, I think it needs a refresher. I think, it needs some new blood. They need to have, a lot more fights. To me, I think the fucking pay-per-view is ridiculous price, but hey,
$70 ain't bad these days, Trey. Inflation.
I think,
especially if you split it up, get some guys over. See, I go back to the 80s and 90s. We used to have those fight parties.
Yes, we used to do.
You buy it, you get 5-10 guys over. Everybody pays $5-10 a piece. Order some pizzas or whatnot, some wings, and we just hang out. So definitely you have to.
Yeah, so I'm with that. I gotta cut out to take care of the kids, man.
Yeah, man, we can close up.
Boxing education, fellas. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we can close.
You guys give me some guys. You guys give me some guys to go look at, man. I really appreciate it because It's like, hey,
Yeah.
I like the sport, but I especially like heavyweights. I like the big guys to see,
Well,
like, look, how much
absolutely.
endurance can you have to make it these 12 rounds and fight this fight? So it's really impressive feat.
Well, I know certainly in the leading weeks before a fight, I'll definitely make announcements about it. If Mandrell, if you're open, I could bring you on. We could do fight previews, for the weekend of the fights and whatnot. We can talk about the matchups and our picks. So certainly we could bring that. And it has been mentioned, I am open to, if you want to do a live fight commentary on one of these fights here, we can
room
work
for the Tyson Paul fight.
We can.
Make him room for the Tyson.
I don't
Paul
want
fight.
to, man.
I don't either.
But I'll make. But if you're willing, I'll make the sacrifice. But I really don't want to see that.
Hey,
but
listen, the man who started me into boxing, Mike Tyson. This might be his last fight, dude. He's nearly 60 years old.
60 years old. That is true.
This might be his last fight. So I'm gonna watch the fight regardless.
So we may do something with that. But Dante, we're about to close the show out. But again, thank you. Again, good to have you back on. Glad to know that you're settled in, and Lord will, we'll see you next week.
Appreciate that, man. I'll catch you guys next week, man.
All right.
Peace.
Trey Ferg, any final thoughts? What the heck? Trey Ferg, any final commentary before we close out
the show? Horizon, the spring is about to hit full summer mode, man. Everybody single, all the single guys, get your asses in shape. Exercise daily, weekly, monthly. Get in shape. That's all I got, man. We got
I hear you.
And take care of your damn health. Take care of your health.
That's it.
All your checkups.